Hello, it's Father Kyle here with another Fridays with Father. Today I want to talk about feasting, kind of a fun topic. We talk about fasting a lot during Lent, fast from meat on Fridays, fast from sweets or social media or something else during all of Lent. But part of being Catholic is for sure fasting, abstaining from things to grow our virtues, to unite with the suffering Christ. But during the Easter season, we also are invited to feast, and especially under certain solemnities, Easter, Pentecost, all these big feast days, Divine Mercy Sunday, right? We're called to feast as well, to celebrate the resurrection of Christ and to enter into that joy in a physical way. So I've got my little thing of Easter candies right here. It's a big change from Lent. My little cards. These are some of the ways that I kind of help myself enter into the season, just Easter decorations as well as just all the different little treats. Now I want to talk about kind of three little things or guidelines that have helped myself to feast well. Because you can also feast poorly, right? Overindulging in things, right? Or feasting just for my own gratification. But no, it really should, whenever we feast, it should really gear us towards uniting ourselves with the joy of the risen Christ or with the joy of the saints, right? It should unite us to a deeper purpose. So whenever I feast, I always think about a couple things. One is to do so in moderation, right? I'm sure we've all had the experience of we finish Lent, we've given up YouTube for all of the 40 days or sweets for 40 days. And then what happens on Easter Sunday? Well, you'll watch enough YouTube to last your whole Lenten season, right? Well, that doesn't really make sense. No, part of Lent is to train us to be able to say no to some good things in order to say yes to what God has for us. And so part of our feasting, we have to do it in moderation. For myself, I gave up sweets for Lent, and so just having just little bits here and there is kind of how I'm able to add into my feasting. A second principle for my own feasting, just for myself, is doing so with people. Part of being Catholic is we have this communion of saints. We have the community of the faithful, or body of Christ. And when we celebrate together, that helps us it keeps us in check, right? Because we're less likely to binge in front of our friends. But it helps us to recognize that, yeah, Christ died for all of us. He died for the body of Christ. And we're members of his body, and we're called as that body to rejoice together. And so I love getting to do things like having Easter dinners or brunches and having people over, doing different kind of festivities. Of course, the weather is incredible this past week or so, which really helps with that. But as we go forward, just all the different Sundays throughout Easter, or even just different feast days, perhaps when the solemnity of the Assumption comes up in August, maybe that's the day. But just to have those little chances to really highlight what's going on. And maybe that's kind of leads into my third point, which is, yes, so we're going to do things, we're going to celebrate in moderation, we're going to celebrate with people, feast with people. But also the third thing is to really make sure our feasting lines up with the liturgy, or lines up with the feast going on in the church. Again, feasting on Easter, right? Having a nice Easter prayer that we do in addition to our feasting. Choosing maybe a saint, our patron saint, that we are able to kind of celebrate, especially that saint day. And so, on that saint day, I've seen different families where you can, that child, whoever that kid is, gets like a special cookie or a special cake or something. Or even for us adults, maybe it's just, again, having a little gathering with a couple of your friends or a couple of your family, or just having a little treat for that saint day. And again, letting whatever feasting we do, not just be for our own pleasure, but really let it guide us to uniting ourselves with the joy of the saints, or the joy of the Easter season of Christ's resurrection, right? That's the goal of our feasting. We've fasted the past 40 days, and I hope that you fasted well. And I really pray that in these next 50 days of Easter, that you also feast well, to do so in moderation, to do so with the community, and of course, to do so gearing ourselves to the higher purpose, which is loving and serving the Lord. This has been your Fridays with Father. I pray you have a blessed rest of your day.